everybody, and we're back with part two, boundaries. And this time I want to talk about, boundaries with our friends. I actually had, a little split from my best friend almost a year ago, actually. And, I felt like for me, the cause of that split was largely because I didn't have boundaries with that person, and we're meeting up together on Saturday, and so we're going to talk about everything after not seeing each other for almost a year. So, it's important that we talk about, boundaries with friends and things like that. The first thing that you might ask me is, why do I need to have boundaries with friends? And you need to have boundaries with your friends because you want to have a long lasting healthy relationship with the people that you love, and you want to feel safe in those relationships, you want to feel heard in those relationships. And so friends are really important because partly your friends influence your behaviors. You can be completely honest with them, they know the true you. So how do I set, boundaries with one of my friends? And I would say the first thing is communication is key. Communication is key in any relationship, but especially with your friendships. You have to be assertive in your friendships. You have to tell them when they did something that hurt you. You have to tell them, when they're wrong and things like that. Hold them accountable. And if your boundaries were affected and they violated them, how are they going to know if you don't tell them? Your friends can't read your mind, so you gotta be able to communicate with them effectively. And one way you can communicate is by using I statements. Like, you don't want to make your friend feel defensive, and you don't want to make them feel like they're always wrong and you're always right. So if you kind of just say like, hey, when this happened, when we were out the other night, I felt like XYZ, and I felt like you violated my boundaries, and I don't want that to happen again. So in order for us to move forward, like, I'm gonna need you to, you know, make sure that you know that. And if your friend might get defensive at first, but as long as they're willing to kind of like change up their behavior, and you stay strong with your boundaries, then you guys should be able to move forward. Um, and you can also know that if that boundary violation keeps happening, either you're not holding strong to it, or you're going to have to say, like, hey, you know, I told you that how this made me feel. You kept doing it. And, if you do it again, I'm not going to XYZ, or I'm not going to, ABC. So one thing could be like, hey, I felt like you can't control your alcohol. And when we go out, it is explosive, and it causes me anxiety to go out with you because I don't know how you're going to react. And if you keep going out with that person and they keep getting drunk, then obviously, they don't care about your boundary, and you don't care about your boundary because you keep putting yourself in that situation. So you can say like, hey, this is happening, and I told you how I felt about it, and things haven't changed, and so I'm not going to go out with you anymore. And but you got to stand on it. You got to stand on it, because if you don't stand on it, then it's not gonna work, because how else is somebody supposed to respect your boundaries when you don't even respect them? So yeah, just make sure that you're being cautious about that. And if people can't have a friendship with you without respecting your boundaries, then the relationship might not be worth it. I also have this other friend, right? And she's a mutual friend of both me and my older best friend or whatever. And while me and my best friend were beefing, I was kind of like, I don't want you to say her name around me. My old friend, I don't want you to say her name around me. And it's petty, whatever, but when I hear her name, I get triggered. And she respected that boundary, I feel like. And and boundaries, they don't have to be, you can adjust them as things change. So if me and my friend get back cool, or I start being triggered, or she's telling me about a trip that they went on, like, I'm not going to be like, oh well, remember what I said, don't say your name. I'm not triggered anymore. But if I was still in that place where I didn't want to hear her name, I don't care about what she's doing in her life, then, I can hold that boundary up. But like I said, like, you can adjust your boundaries. It's situational, and things change and you change. So, there's not no one set all of, like, you have to always be this way all the time. Like, no. You know what's right, you know what's wrong. Your body will tell you. So what if my friend gets mad at me or is disappointed that I set this boundary, right? So I would say the first thing, and I struggle with this too. Like, you guys know, I'm an empath. So I struggle with making people feel bad, but you have to also remember that you're a participant in this relationship and that your feelings matter as well. So if you constantly feel like you're being violated in your relationship with your friends, then something has to change. Like, it can't just be one-sided. There has to be equity in your relationship. It has to be equal. And also, you have to kind of like look at yourself in the mirror and make sure you smell your own shit, because you might be, stepping on somebody else's boundaries as well. So if you're not respecting your friend or, your homeboy or homegirl's boundaries, they're going to feel like they're not going to respect yours either, because you don't respect them. So why would they respect you? So make sure you check your shit at the door, and make sure that you're giving them the space for them to be able to communicate as well, and that you're respecting their boundaries. Because if you're getting something, then you should be giving something in return. It's give and take. All relationships are give and take. I would also say, like, people try to push your boundaries, just like children, just like kids. They ask you a million times, they want you to do something a million times, and they're going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And you always have to remain firm in the struggle. It might get a little stormy, it might get a little rough, but as long as you hold true to that and, stand firm, you will be okay. And if the person loves you and they want to be friends with you, they'll respect it. And if they don't, then that relationship is likely coming to an end anyway. Like, if you guys can't be friends without you having boundaries, then it's not a good relationship. You guys have to have boundaries. And I've had friends where I've had no boundaries. I would do anything for them. I would jump off a cliff for that person, and they know, and they're gonna take me to that cliff and expect me to jump off of it every time. And it's not healthy. And you don't want to have anxiety surrounding your friends, or you don't want to have depression surrounding your friends. You don't want to feel like your friends are using you, and you don't want to have resentment. And that's something that I really struggle with. I always end up having resentment in all of my relationships because I don't have boundaries. And nobody's asking me to do a fucking thing. I mean, people are asking, but it's like I'm also offering my help and doing things that I don't want to do for other people. And it's like, just wait until somebody asks before you just offer up your services. Like, if nobody asks you to do it, don't do it. Don't do it, and you will not feel resentment. And there are some people, who are like you, who, you don't have to ask for it and they will do it for you. And so you just gotta, like, figure out who you can do XYZ with, who you can do ABC with, and who you can do MNO with. And once you figure that out, you'll be a lot happier. So, and yes, so this wraps up this part 2 on boundaries and friendships. So I hope you guys learned something, and feel free to share any other ways that you guys establish boundaries with your friends or situations like that, because I'm here to learn and grow too. Shoot, I don't have all the answers. I have some answers, but not all the answers. So just let me know in the comments what you guys think, and I appreciate you guys for being here.